Alright, and welcome back to episode 9 of On the Hook, my Dead by Daylight podcast. Today we're talking everything about developers' question and answers, the change to Decisive Strike, the change to Object of Obsession, and we've got a special outtake at the end, discussing Cheryl. Stay tuned, guys. Alright, so welcome back to episode 9 of On the Hook. So today we have Cptsalty, we've got Nio, Potatolegion, SkinnyQuinny, and Tat. So welcome back again, guys. Appreciate you coming on. So plenty to talk about today. Quite a lot. It obviously changed during the week. I had some ideas of things to talk about, and then we got hit with the developers' question and answers. So first question, guys. Without going into too much detail, because as you'll imagine, we've probably got some questions around what was said. What did you make of the developers' question and answers?
Woohoo! Just there was sometimes where they did kind of skip around a few questions, but honestly, them sort of opening up to the community a little bit more, even though let's be honest, we kind of wish they were doing it earlier, but it's kind of it's a very much good step forward for this Q&A for the developers and the community, I reckon.
Yeah, we did have the usual responses for a lot of stuff like, oh, we can't talk about this. It's something we'd like to do, but I think we could all agree that them announcing balance changes or ideas of balance before they hit the live server is a really good step in the right direction. I love the clear communication, and I hope that they share more in design perks and add-on changes and stuff like that, like they did with Object, because, dude, even though that's not coming out like anytime soon, just the fact that they acknowledge that it's broken is great. And that we can have a say in how things are changed.
I mean, I didn't actually watch it because I was streaming at the time, but I think it's good that they're actually sort of putting out suggestions for what ideas they want to do, and then asking the community for feedback. Because you saw on their Twitter, they're like, "This is a change on objects. What do you guys think of it?" So I think that's really nice that they're doing that, and they should continue doing that. And as Tatariu said, this is a step in the right direction. So good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing you mentioned there, one thing I took out of it, I was the same. I sort of flicked between it, so I didn't sit and watch it out and out. But the feedback on the changes, I was quite impressed with, because I think a lot of the criticism they've had, for example, like the Mori change, it just appeared in one of the patches, so it was quite good that they gave feedback on the changes. And I know you've mentioned Twitter there, Potatolegion, but one thing I've noticed is that they are posting a lot of stuff on Twitter trying to answer questions. So I don't know if it's a new direction they are wanting to go down, and hopefully to step in the right direction. But yeah, I was quite pleased with it overall. Anybody else? SkinnyQuinny, did you have any thoughts on?
I didn't watch it,
right?
But pretty much I agree with everyone else. I like the way that they're being more open and honest with the changes that they're doing.
Yeah, fair enough. Cptsalty, did you manage to watch it, or?
Yeah, what I don't understand is they said it last Q&A before that Object of Obsession is a fine perk and they don't want to change it, and now they're like, we have some discussion and we had like some project and you can now vote on a concept that might get into the game, which, like, what is the sense that they're like this change of mind at this moment? Like they were like, Object of Obsession according to our statistics is a fine perk because the escape rate is not high enough. Did they actually understand why the fuck it was a problem, or why did they change their mind on that? Like the Object of Obsession change is pretty good, but like, why did they change their mind on that?
Yeah,
It definitely has to come down to just like community outrage, because like even like the question that was asked is like, given that I don't remember what exactly they said, I'm gonna paraphrase a bit, but like, given that the reception to the lack of change to Object was not well received, are there any planned changes to Object? Like, are you guys gonna listen or not? So I think just like the whole community freaking out about it was definitely a contributing factor, I will say.
yeah. I mean,
What I still understand is, why the fuck did they say, the HUD is staying like it is? Like, we just adjusted the colorblind settings so people can see this HUD better, but yeah, the Plague is still fucked, It's like, it will come like this on the live version of the game, and it's like, yeah, like, don't care about like the 700,000 downvotes on fucking Reddit that this fucking HUD sucks. you just bring it into the game anyway.
Yeah.
Not even make it customizable, which is like what was the biggest point of me. Like, why don't you just add an option of turning it on or off? Is that hard?
Well, that was mentioned in the question and answers. They're going to look at customization, but not yet. So, reading between the lines, I think that's probably going to be a case of it'll happen at some point in the future, but not as yet. The other thing that was interesting, I made a video about it, and it got quite a few comments on, and a few people did mention, is it because they're getting some competition? There was Monstrum 2. I mean, I don't think personally after playing Monstrum 2 it's going to be much of competition at the minute, but between that, 2020, which wasn't probably a good year for the developers, and a new game coming out, is that a case of maybe they've had to change how they've approached things? I don't know, but we shall wait and see. Right, let's dig deeper then into the questions. So, obviously, guys, you're going to know this is going to be brought up. The biggest talking point, Decisive Strike. Happy or not happy?
Very, very happy. Great change. I was a little worried about the healing and how that would interact. Like I talked about, like if you would get unhooked and then someone tries to heal you, does that deactivate the perk? Turns out Louis McLean has already said that that will not deactivate the perk. You using a healing perk will not deactivate the perk. As long as something else in the game heals you and you're not actively healing, it will not deactivate the perk. So you have to go out of your way to deactivate it, basically.
Yeah.
And so it's nice. It actually is an anti-tunnel perk now.
Yeah, I agree with Tat there. It does exactly what it says on the tin now. It can't be abused by survivors. You know, the amount of times you've had a survivor just continue doing a gen in your face because they've brought Unbreakable DS. It's just frustrating. But now it's doing exactly what it says on the tin. So if you go heal, do gens, whatever, you're going to lose your DS and be punished for it. So it's going to allow for some smart plays for killers as well. It's going to allow for more cautious plays by survivors. This is a great change. I really, really like it.
I love it. It's obviously great. It's now an anti-tunnel perk and it's not like going to be abused. But I do have two small concerns or changes I would kind of like them to look into doing. The first, as touched upon with the healing, I might just not be reading this too well myself. But as far as I understand it, as long as you yourself don't complete the healing action, you can still be healed and then take 2 health states and still have DS up. I don't know if that is the case or if I'm just missing information. And also there's no system in place around it when it comes to the end game. If there's no gens to do, totems or anything, there's just the gates to do, then survivors can still have DS up in that state and then it could still be quite strong in the end game. But that's all I'd change to it. I still think overall the fact they're changing it is great, but I do have just those two small concerns.
Pretty much completely agree with everyone. It's even, especially with also Quinny said, I would pretty much just like maybe with the exit gates as well. I'm not sure. It didn't say anything to do with the exit gates, I don't believe, because I honestly cannot remember off the top of my head right now.
No, it didn't. Yeah, it didn't.
Maybe I would just like for it to maybe disable when you open exit gates as well, and then I would probably be perfectly happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on it, I'm quite happy with it. I hear what you're saying, SkinnyQuinny. I mean, obviously, I think we had a discussion, and where Decisive Strike really hurt me the most, I did say it in the Discord. I know we got into quite a bit of a debate over it. For me, I didn't think it's as big a problem as what the community thinks. I just play around it. Sometimes I will decide if I want to eat a DS or not, or risk it. Sometimes I'll just leave them slugged. And yeah, you know, I don't win every game, so that's fine. But I didn't really come across it as such a major issue. But I do like the change. I think, like everyone said, it is now an anti-tunneling perk. It is what it is. But yeah, you were still going to have the problems in the end game. But again, how often that happens is a different question, really. But Cptsalty, what did you think about Decisive Strike?
The problem with Decisive Strike right now, and always will be, the end game. Because if you consider you're being a nice killer and you're like, oh, I don't go after you, but you should because you want to get Decisive Strike out of the way so it doesn't bother you in the end game anymore, which is why people struggle against this perk, because they can't just like tunnel one out of the game and make sure that they use the Decisive Strike. If you notice they missed the Decisive Strike or don't have it, just let them slug again. You know, like you just want to pick them up to get it out of the way as fast as possible. That's the problem with Decisive Strike. It's not an anti-tunnel perk, it's just an annoying perk in general. And even though they changed it when you do an action, it deactivates. It's still that thing is like if killer play nice, and that's what I always say is fair and nice, between the difference of fair and nice killers. Fair killers do everything to win, but they also respect like the other side having a chance to win this because they can do it, because they just outplay the killer, they can still win this game. Nice killers make everything they can do to have both sides enjoying the game, which in the end bites them in the butt because they get out because Decisive Strike is still active. And they can't slug because of Unbreakable, and they can't pick him up because of D-Strike. They will get out of the game just because the killer was too nice in the whole game. It will still be the case, but I never had the problem because I tunnel the shit out of people when I think they have D-Strike, because I want them to use D-Strike as fast as possible, so I don't have to worry about it in the late game anymore.
But do you think that, obviously, we're on about having fun for both sides. I've been on the receiving end of tunneling, and I put it on, again, we had this discussion midweek, but one game in particular, I was in a dead zone. I took that decision to go to dead zone. I know, Cptsalty, you're going to say that was your bad play. I took that decision to go to dead zone because otherwise I was going to run to where people were doing gens. Now, that killer just completely tunneled me. As soon as I got took off, he was there. He'd run past other players. The other teammates realised what was going on and were even trying to take hits, and he wouldn't entertain it. And he got me out the game pretty quickly, and I D-pipped, didn't have fun, and wished I had D-Strike, but just didn't have the perk on. I mean, is that... I know you're saying you want to tunnel them and get them out the game, but is that situational?
No, I want to tunnel them to get them out, let a D-Strike out of the game. I don't want to get the person out of the game. They can go into the exit gates, but at least they don't have D-Strike active anymore when they are there, because they used it already. So I pressure the team so hard often that they have to use D-Strike so they have a new chance of actually fucking up the game for themselves in the team. And that's what you should do as D-Strike. And that's like still an unhealthy thing. Even now, that it doesn't really change in the end game when the exit gates are open. That's like the biggest problem, is like that you get a second chance of getting freshly unhooked even though the exit gates are open. Now you can ask yourself, what can I do to prevent that from happening? You could have downed them or killed them before that happens, you know? It's just bad on you playing. Or you play Noed or Blood Warden and stuff like that and make them not get escape out with D-Strike. But that's another thing. The problem with that is like the killers mostly play nice because they think both sides should have fun, and then they get punished by D-Strike. Because D-Strike is still active, even in the end game, because people did not use it, because they didn't feel like the need to it. Because killers are too nice, don't really pressure, don't really play an unfun way of like stopping survivors from actually doing generators, and let them do generators to have a few few fun chases, and then in the end they get punished for that. And that's the thing with D-Strike. It's still a completely unfun power perk if you have to deal with it in an late game. So get it out as fast as possible, or like deal with the consequences, which is still a problem with the D-Strike. Even though it's an anti-tunneling perk, it should not help you get out of the game if you don't deserve to get out of the game, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So a follow-up question to that, guys. If there was one thing you could change about this new proposed D-Strike, what would you change?
Probably just adding that it either gets disabled when endgame collapse is going on, or disable when opening a gate. Other than that, I'm pretty much okay with it.
I'm fine with what it does. I just think they should be a little bit more clear with the description. Although I've been reading a few things that the designers have been saying. Apparently, they actually ran out of text space for the perk slot. So they reached a word count limit, adding all these situational deactivations to it. That's funny. So it would be nice if you would have more clarification on what in particular action actually deactivates it, but I don't know. It's not really needed, I think.
They could literally just put, if you do any action minus yourself being healed, like 2 dots, that's it. Like, I think if you touch a door, then you should also lose it, as Nio said. I think if you're fully healed, then obviously you're not being tunneled, so you should lose it as well. But obviously, as Tat said earlier, there's situations where if you get off the hook and someone touches you and heals you by mistake, you don't want to lose your DS.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they just need to be a bit more clear about what you can and can't do with D-Strike.
Someone asked an interesting question today on one of my videos, and it was like, if you have inner strength, will you lose D-Strike? And I was like, interesting. Off the top of my head, I think, yes, you will, because technically you have healed yourself. But
No, it's performing an action. You have to cast this action.
so do you think that'll
Like,
work then?
Disabling a totem, losing a medkit, healing civil other survivors, working on a gen, sabotaging hooks. They stated it's only on actions. Like, you don't do an action, you just stand in a locker, because locker doesn't disable it. Healing with inner strength won't disable it as well.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
only-
also the
stable
case,
by what I hear.
this is also the case with Second Wind.
Yeah.
As long as you're not actually healing, then it won't deactivate.
Right,
Yep.
right. And I'm presuming that's going to be the case for Adrenaline as well then, because that's obviously out of your hands a bit. Right, okay, the second part then was Object of Obsession. Nio, one of your favourite perks, shall we say. So that's being changed. What do you guys think about that?
I might go last with this one.
In that case, I think I'm going to go first then. I really like this change as well. Really like the way that they've added sort of a almost rock paper scissors style element to the perk, where the killer brings the aura reading perks, but then object counters those directly. So that's good. This is another one though that I've got a change I would make to it, is that the whole 3-second reveal factor. I think they should just either completely do away with it or flip the numbers. Because the way I see it, all you really need is it to be an aura read counter. You don't need to have the whole like randomly exposed to the killer part, because like it's already giving you the info of like, if you randomly get revealed and see the killer, right? Okay, he's got barbecue because he's just hooked someone, or he's got undying because I just got revealed randomly walking and there's a dull totem there. There's no need to have the random 3-second reveal timer limit to it, in my opinion, because I think there needs to be more perks that are just hard counters to others, kind of like how Strider and Iron Will work, where if a survivor's got Iron Will, you just don't hear them unless you've got Strider, which hard counters Iron Will. There needs to be more perks like that, and the new object could do that for aura reading perks, but in my opinion, they need to get rid of the 3-second reveal factor.
I think this is a great change overall. Quinny covered most of it, really. But I think alert is going to be more common now, because it's a better source of information, and at least you're not exposing yourself to the killer like this perk is doing. It can't be abused 24/7 anymore, and it can't be called out to Swifts because the information isn't that consistent, because in 30 seconds a killer can move around quite a lot. But it's going to be great for survivors to know if the killer's got barbecue and chili, for example. So distortion's no longer going to be needed ever again. You can just bring objects, I guess. I'm not sure how this is going to work with stealth killers as well, because if you're in stealth, I assume when the 30-second timer goes up for 3 seconds, you still won't be able to see the killer, but they'll be able to see you. And I'm hoping that it shouldn't have that directional lighting up thing for stealth killers. So I think this is going to be good for stealth killers. It's also going to be very good for Freddy as well, because when you're in the dream state, you can currently see Freddy 24/7 with object, but now you won't be able to, which is great. And I know you're going to love that part about it.
Definitely.
But yeah, overall, this is a great perk. It's not something that can be abused by Swifts, and it's going to take a lot more skill to use correctly. So I like the change overall.
Captain Salty, you like an Object of Obsession?
Yeah, but I have something to say about obsession perks in general. The devs stated in a Q&A in 2017 that obsession perks were designed for a survivor that specifically gets targeted by a killer. And I don't mean tunneled, but there's a reason that the obsession, like, kind of arms of the entity, like, moving when you get chased. That should be a signal for other survivors that they are safe to do whatever they wanted to do. That's why this aura reading of the killer knows where you are, but also you know where the killer are, is basically the reason why Object of Obsession was used. The problem was, in its current state, it was used in mainly Survive Your Friends groups to just like call out the killer for people that should not see it. Now it's still the same thing, but it doesn't push Survive Your Friends anymore. So now it's a really good solo queue perk where you can run it to get an obsession in the whole match, and then people can actually see when an obsession is getting chased when it's chased. So the purpose of this perk was always to give the killer a target of who he has to chase, and on purpose. And that was the purpose of this perk. And now it's fair, and every 3 seconds the killer sees the survivor, and like everyone sees the killer when he loses an hour perk, which is like completely fair because it's not permanent, and you still have this purpose of survivors wanting to get chased with running this perk.
That's all interesting. My thoughts on Object of Obsession is, yeah, I've always thought Object of Obsession in Survival Friends is broken. So really glad with the changes. Or the proposed changes. I still think there'll be more changes done to this when they get the feedback. I really do. So a few things mentioned there. I think SkinnyQuinny, it was you, wasn't it, about the 3 seconds? So we'll see what happens. Nio, I'm conscious you said you wanted to go last.
I think I just felt like I should be the one that goes last, considering I'm pretty much the one who actively still uses that perk. So
yeah, go ahead.
When it comes to like I mentioned last week, that I dislike that this perk is my favorite perk to use, and I'm actually more than happy with these changes. The only thing I'm also seeing is with these changes to the perk, that if I said we were in a 4-man and say I was running that perk, by what I'm going off with this reading, you can actually seem to discover what perks that the killer has more easier now with that perk as well. So it can actually be a lot more of an information perk given to you in solo or in Survivor Friends. So you can actually also figure out what perks the killers are using easier as well. Like, say if I was running it and it was, the blight that has the aura while he's running, well, I would be able to figure that out and figure out what add-ons and stuff they're running as well. So to me, it's a lot more of an information perk now, going to the point of the other side of it, of being what add-ons and what perks the killers could be running. So it's definitely not going to be as powerful in an SDF and SWF, like telling people where the killer is and stuff and all that crap, but it also has unlocked a way to give other type of information to your friends, is what I see when it comes to this perk.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't, correct me if I'm wrong, they haven't even said when this is going to be coming in. Am I right? Because I know Decisive Strike, that's going to be the next chapter. Did they say the same for Object, or was that going to be future?
They didn't know yet. They said it is a proposed change. They don't know how to implement that yet, and they're waiting for feedback till they announce when it's actually happening. It's just a concept.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens. And obviously, if people listen to this, if you want to give your feedback, then please take this opportunity to give your feedback on the perks to the developers, and hopefully we'll have, like we said earlier, a bit more better communication in regards to things changing the game. Right, last thing on the devs Q&A was the killer rework, and this was bringing it round to some a question that you mentioned before, Nio, about why do people main who they do, and I thought we'll bundle the question together. But firstly, killer rework, Freddy, Demogorgon and Huntress, with Demo being next. When I looked at it, I thought, actually, what would they do to Demogorgon and Huntress? Do you guys have any idea of what you'd like to see change with them two? Obviously, with the Huntress, I'd like to see Eerie heads removed, but I'm not too sure on the rest. What do you guys think about that?
Demogorgon, probably just some add-on changes and statistical improvements to the killer. They said that they were overall really satisfied with Demogorgon, so I don't expect too much to change there. Huntress, hopefully nothing changes about her base power, and they just rework all of her add-ons, get rid of Exhaustion, get rid of Eerie Head, make her have 2 ultra rares, just like every other killer. And hopefully they also give her some chase music as well. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I hope they don't change Huntress's base kit, because I've been using a lot of her and having a lot of fun with her. I think something they do need to change is her hitboxes. They're still messed up, and over certain objects, it looks like you can throw over them, but you just hit like nothing. You hit like an invisible wall. So that's something that needs to be fixed for sure. Eerie Head needs to go immediately. Demogorgon's base kit is very weak, and his add-ons don't really do you any favors other than the portal speed add-ons. I'd like to see his portal cooldown decrease, so that he can teleport more often. Maybe even just get rid of it, because it'd be good if he can constantly teleport back and forth. Maybe even something to do with the heartbeat when someone steps on a portal. Maybe it just automatically gives information rather than him having to go into shred, because it'd be a great source of information for him as well. Who was the other killer you mentioned?
Huntress, Demogorgon, Freddy. Freddy was the other one.
Good. Yeah, he's got too much going for him, so they need to remove one of his powers or make it so that when it's harder to fall asleep for survivors. So maybe there's not a passive timer. Maybe he actually just has to hit you. I think we went into Freddy a lot last week.
We did, yeah. I think we brought up Freddy before, because if I remember rightly, it was you, Tat, that mentioned about changing the wake-up system. So you said if rather than it spawn on the other side of the map, the alarm clocks just spawned randomly closer by, and the teleport to take a little bit longer to recover. Am I right in thinking that was you, wasn't it? Yeah.
I said that the alarm clocks, like, you shouldn't have to use only one. You can use whichever alarm clock you want to wake up, so that you don't have to run across the entire map. Do that, and then also remove all of his slowdowns because they're miserable. I think he's fine.
Yeah.
Demo, honestly, just want a little bit of stats change. Maybe just adding, what was it, rat liver or rat tail, whatever it was, base.
Yeah.
Base. That would honestly just be nice. Freddy, pretty much mostly agree with like Kat about the alarm clocks in certain spots. Really, I just want like the dream world to be changed and get rid of the slowdown while in dream world, because right now it's just getting complete passive slowdown for just people falling asleep because of how easy it is for people to fall asleep. And with Huntress and don't change anything with Huntress. Add-ons, of course, Eerie Head's going to be changed. Eerie Head will most likely be changed. I'd either like Eerie to be forced one in the chamber, would be funny, and I would like to see a forced one in the chamber of Eerie Head. And even though Tat was saying it's a joke, I really want to have one that causes deep wound, because I thought that'd be funny as fuck.
What, in the Huntress?
Yeah, I'd love Huntress to cause deep wounds, like Tat was saying on his stream, as like sort of more of a joke sort of thing. But I was like, please make this happen. This would be funny.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I like the idea of Eerie Heads going down to 1. That'd be good. You have to be a good shot to run Eerie Heads.
Like, even though now it's 1, but you just run like the bag. Is it the bag? I don't know. Just to have 3, make it forced 1.
Yeah. Cptsalty?
Okay, about the Huntress, they mentioned they won't change much. They will just like adjust the add-on, so she gets a second iridescent like any other killer has. Gets on par with all the add-ons. I think they mentioned maybe getting one of the weaker, but in general, one of the stronger add-ons of Demogorgon into his base kit. Something like they did with Clown and the bottle, like that he doesn't have to reload the bottles as long. Maybe something like Red Liver gets base kit. I don't know. They have mentioned what they did with that. And about Freddy, I said it once. I want old Freddy back. Give me the mechanic that he has to pull everyone in the dream world, and when he's successful, people can only wake up when failing skill checks. Give me that back. I'm okay with that. Even buff Dreamworld back to 60% slowdown, because it was so hard putting them all in Dreamworld. If it's 9, it was 8 seconds casting, and after 12 seconds they fall asleep, and that's all the time. And before that, you could not interact with them. Bring that back. It's already strong enough. He can teleport to gens. On top of that, make him just pull them all in the dream world once. And if they're all in dream world, they can't wake up by clocks or waking themselves up. They have to fail a skill check. So we basically know where they are all the time if they have to wake themselves up. Bring back old Freddy, please.
Maybe we can start a campaign where you can have it as an add-on that lets you play as old Freddy. I know it's not going to work, but wishful thinking.
Bring a new killer that is like old Freddy. Like, I just want old Freddy back. I wasted 2k hours in learning that guy. I want this back, okay?
Yeah. No, that's...
I really want old Freddy back too. I absolutely loved playing old Freddy. It was so enjoyable for me.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, have went along them lines, that they really enjoyed the last Freddy. I never played the last Freddy. I'm only used to the overpowered one that keeps me boosted, I'm afraid.
It was like chases was not important. You had to work for like a control state of game. You had to keep them all in dream world so you can see what they do, because you had aura read in the dream world. So you didn't want them to get out of the dream world. So you did not waste time chasing. You checked the gens. Like, you will make sure that nothing happens, and you were stalling the game forever. Like forever Freddy without even like having slowdown add-ons or something like that. That was basically old Freddy. If you managed to pull them all 4 in the dream world, they could not wake themselves up and had to fail skill checks to get out of there. So basically, in the end, if you got that right and you controlled the game and you played around the tactic to get them all into dream world, you basically won by people giving up because they were tired of playing this game. You know, that was basically old Freddy. It's like his chase was abysmal. He couldn't hit people when they're not asleep. He had to pull all people individually into the dream world, and they could just easily wake himself up by like finding someone and clapping a bit.
Yeah. Well, as I said, we can start. Maybe we'll start by messaging the developers and being like, Cptsalty wants all Freddy back. Right. On to the next thing. The next thing, I know it's going to be a bit close to your heart, Cptsalty. Gen slowdown perks. Is it necessary? Do you want to go last on this one, Cptsalty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on the map, killer, and survivors that you're facing. In general, like, it depends really on those things. Because as nurse, like, I don't use any slowdown. I just use all awareness because nurse doesn't need it if you're actually good. And then when I play Legion already has slowdown in his base power, so all I use is like surge just to make it really convenient to damage gens, and that's basically it. But if you're versing the like a bunch of casual players, you're really not going to need slowdown. Just like, you know, double up on chase or awareness, and you'll do just fine. I don't think that it's necessary to run Dying Light with Thanaphobia and Ruin because you can't get to the gen on the other side of the map. I don't think that's a thing. I just think that's people just being really bad and needing everything they can. I don't have a problem with gen speeds and needing a bunch of regression perks.
Pretty much do agree that we don't really need slowdown. Well, a lot of people don't really need slowdown perk, but then again, I'm honestly just a kind of a jerk and someone who has gotten to like annoying people with stacking a bunch of slowdown just to piss them off. And some slowdowns can work really well. For example, I love using Thanatophobia on Legion to give them more an incentive to try and heal themselves, because healing against Legion is awful.
Yeah.
So it's more, I don't really feel like we need it, despite the fact that I'm bad at games and I still need slowdown on Nurse. And just, I don't know, don't really need it, but I like annoying people.
I think Tat hit the nail on the coffin there. It's basically like, it depends on what killer you're playing and what map you get. It's all very RNG. If I'm playing a fast mobility killer or someone like Legion, for example, you probably don't need it as much because you're constantly on the attack and they won't even have a chance to do gens if you're playing right. Whereas if you're playing a slow killer that lacks map pressure, like Clown, for instance, it's always good to have a slowdown perk. But yeah, it's very, very killer dependent. But sometimes the gens just fly way too fast against good teams. And if I can see in a lobby that I think a team is good, I'll more likely bring one just to buy me some more time in the game. But yeah, I think so. It depends.
Yeah, I just agree with what's been said by everyone, that it's entirely down to the map, the killer, and the teams you're against. You know, I personally on my Blight, I do have pop and oppression, but I've been playing without that as well, and I can still fairly easily get like 3-4Ks just because I'm Blight. And then on other killers, you could do the same. It's very dependent on the killers. Obviously, Blight has the advantage of being a fast mobility killer that can go from one end of the map to the other in seconds, but then someone like Trapper might struggle. He'd have to play more defensively than aggressively, but you can still play totally fine without slowdown. Just depends on the killer, the map, and the team.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, we've had this discussion quite a few times, and if you look at my games, normally...
You pop-loving boosted player, dude.
Yeah, I am. I am, but it's like I was trying to explain to you yesterday. It's like when the question was asked about Thrill and Tremors, for example, that's one of my favourite perks. Now, people say, why don't you just use Barbecue? But I'm just like, I use Thrilling for the same reason, because I'll probably play very defensively. I play the objective, and that's to defend the gens. Sometimes I've had games, especially if I'm playing as Hag or Trapper, where the games have gone on for like 25 minutes because I've just went, right, okay, I'm losing this game, I'm just going to go and defend these 3 gens. But my objective is to defend these gens, and I played a game today as Doctor, and literally the game finished after 4 minutes, if that. You know, the guys were just after going, rough game for you, and I was like, yeah, I was just a complete wrong killer with the wrong build against them people. And it is very map dependent. I was on Fractured Cowshed, and they just took me around. You could see they knew what they were doing around that loop with the cows strung up above it, you know, and they knew they just maximised every loop, and the rest of them done the gens. And I do sit there and I think, well, I'm using it for information. To same with Tinkerer. You know, that again, another one. If I count my favourite perks, it's always Pop, Tinkerer, and Thrill. Now I know people say it's a bit over the top, especially you, Cptsalty. You know, you're like, look at them perks you're using, but that's why I find myself I'm getting a range of games. I played a game as Freddy yesterday. 5 generators were still done, and they all died. And then I played a game this morning, and it was very, very sweaty game. So because you can't see, and I know Potato, you've just mentioned that, you might get an inkling, you might look and think, these look like a team. You know, if they all load in together, yeah, it's very likely to survive a friend, very likely to be a tough game. But because you don't know that beforehand, there's no middle game for me. It's either an extremely boring game, where, yes, I will acknowledge the survivors and say, sorry, well, that guy's build was too powerful for this. But then I'll have a game, and I will put the game up this week, where it was just non-stop, and if I didn't have those perks, I probably would have got beat, even with Freddy, because the survivors were that organised and that coordinated, and there were survivor friends, they were all on comms. So that's my thoughts on it, but go ahead, Cptsalty, shoot me down.
Okay, first of all, I don't have anything against Thrilling. I just hate the combo of like trying to slow down the gens as much as possible, and that's what Thrilling plus Pop does. If you put on Corrupt on top of that, that's overkill. But like now, that's just okay. The thing what people always mistaken is that slowdown perk doesn't win you the game. It's the pressure you are able to put on a team. And slowdown perks only help if you are able to put pressure. Let's say you play on a map like Temple of Purgation against a really good team, and I counted that. On this map is 18 pallets, and 12 of them are unmygameable. If people know that they are unmygameable and they try to loop you exactly on that point, you can't do anything. And Pop Goes Weasel doesn't give you value because you can't end chases, you can't get hooks, and that's why you will not be able to slow down the game. So in this case, the only perk that is actually helping you and is not even really helping you is Ruin, because you go, scare them off the gens, you chase them a bit, gen regresses. But it doesn't save you the game because it just buys you a bit more time. And if you don't have Ruin, you know you can't go for the chase as long as possible. You have to go back and maybe check if the guy that you abandoned at the strong loop is maybe now sitting on the gen. Especially if you think it's a survival friends. You always have to have in the back of your head, the guys are survival friends. So someone will tell them that they worked on the gen. It's already done, but like the killer chased us off, so we can't work on this anymore. If you know that and keep that in mind, you go back to the gen because your objective is to prevent survivors from ending the game. And if you needed hooks, you will get that by survivors that are broken under the pressure you apply because you don't let them breathing room to actually do something, which is then called snowball. You don't need perks for that. You can just do that by having the knowledge of what you're doing. The same things like if you spawn in the map and you know the map spawns, you go directly to that. I mentioned that in the precast of this podcast that survivors always spawn 3 and 1. As the only time they don't spawn as 3 and 1 stack is if they brought this like shroud of, I don't even know the name because it's terrible. It just basically says killer. If you find one survivor, you find them all. You know, it's basically a bad offering that you never should bring. And even if you know that they spawn in 3 or 1, if you find one survivor, you know you found the survivor that spawned alone. So you search around the spawning area of the survivor to find the next 3. And if you find the next 3, you know what everyone is doing. And most likely, if people spawn on the gen, they will work on it. So the only thing you have to do in the beginning of a match is like checking where survivors spawn and the nearby gens where they spawned at. If you don't do that and you run into like one guy that is not on the gen running into you, basically baiting you to chase them and you go for the chase, that's basically just, hey, chase me because my friends want to do generators. And if you fall for that, it's on you. That's why people think they need slowdown perks, because that's what they do. They want to chase because they think, oh, chasing is so much fun, it's mind gaming, but they don't realize that most chases in this game are survivor-sided. And you basically limit yourself by going for those things that survivors want you to do. It's basically following the survivor rulebook by going for chases and chasing everyone and not 1-2 times after they got unhooked. It's basically following the survivor rulebook.
Well, that to me, I hear what you're saying, and obviously if anybody else wants their thoughts on it, I disagree in regards to gen slowdown in regards to the perks I'm using, because besides Tinkerer, for example, the rest are in my control. So I cannot, like you said, so Pop and Thrilling, so I have to still put the pressure on. I still have to do everything, because it's not a ruin where it's just going to be working away. I'm rewarding myself for actually putting the pressure on, down in the survivors, and then going to them to get them. That is my reward for it. Like I said, Tinkerer, yes, that works on its own. That's just information perk for me. And I hear what you're saying about the spawns, but some people don't know spawns. You use discordance. You know, that's another perk I use quite a lot. It's to get me to get the pressure straight away. So I wouldn't class them as such as slowdown perks that I'm having to rely on, because, you know, Thrilling, for example, I've got multiple downs and I've not had it. Pop, with obviously the time changing, sometimes you might not get a regen on time, or someone else might come in the way and you don't use it. But any other opinions on that from the rest of you? What do you guys think about that?
I just wanted to throw something in quickly about Pop that is actually quite noticeable. If in an ideal world, well, for one, when you verse Pop as a survivor, that's kind of one of the most demoralizing things, seeing your generator lose 25%, to be honest. Yeah. But I've actually noticed that in an ideal where you use all your pops, you kick them, you get all your stacks, and you win the game, it actually adds like almost, if not almost, I'm pretty sure like 50% more generator that you have to do to the game, because all up it adds like 2.5 generators if you manage to get every do every single kick and make it ideal. So Pop can actually add like 2.5 generators to the game.
Yeah. I think it's over.
Yeah, but
I think it's really. I love the perk. I know. Was it you, SkinnyQuinny, that said it's overrated?
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. I use it because it's consistent compared to Ruin, which can either go at the start or be there all game.
Yeah.
So that's why I still use Pop. But I personally think because it's only on one gen at a time, and you've still got to defend like 6 other gens as well as the one you kick, and then also the fact that it's 25%. If one survivor gets on that, that's crippling. But if 2 of them hop on that 25% is undone in 5 seconds. By the time you've kicked it and gone for someone else, if 2 survivors hop on that gen, Pop was irrelevant. Like, it's gone. I've had that happen to me so many times, and I've thought, well, what was the point in popping it then? Because they've just gone and undone it. Like, don't get me wrong, it is still better than Ruin, in my opinion, just because it's consistent. But it's very overrated. Like, I find myself, like I said, I use oppression with it because that can then cover multiple gens and help me out there, but I would never use just Pop on its own. I'd always have something backing it up just because it's
that's why I
weak.
have Discordance as well, for that exact reason. My Freddy build's really simple. Discordance, Pop, Thrilling, and Tinkerer. That is it. That's all I need.
That's what I was suggesting. That's stacking Tinkerer and Discordance. If they want to work on the gen as a group, you know it. If they finish the gen, you know it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's basically, you always know what the fuck they do. That's how
Yeah.
you play killer. You play the controlling route of like, oh, they finish the gen? I don't think so. Oh,
Yeah.
they soldier start the gen? I don't think so. That's what this makes this perk so unfair. And if a killer knows that this generator pressure is the biggest thing that he has to do, and chases don't do anything because you can mind game people at loops and you still get gen rushed by berry survivors, you know, that know they just sit on gens and do the gens. You can still lose a game just because you are out mind gaming at loops, but they gen rush, you know. That's the thing. If people understand that actually having a chance of having knowledge when survivors do gens, like Surveillance, for example, or something like that, when they touch a gen or begin a gen, especially when they spawn in the map and they like spawn in 3 stacks and 2 people start on working a gen, you directly know they're starting on a gen. And that's knowledge for you to either get your next direction where you go, or, I have time to do that. You know, it's like, I don't care about this gen, it's too far away, it's out of my free gen, let them do it. Let them waste time on the gen that I don't even want, you know? That's why Discords is such a good perk. Even if it never happens, you know, they are not stacking on one gen. They are probably splitting, or one person is like, it's like the hopeless one that has to do all the gens because your teammates are sitting in the basement searching for chests.
Well, it's funny you should say that. When I've been playing games last week, I panic when Discordance doesn't go off at the beginning because I'm like, shit, these survivors know what to do and they've all split up, you know. So it can be off-putting. I'm just conscious, guys, about the time. Does anybody else have anything to say about slowdowns or?
Yeah, I'm not finished.
Go on then.
The thing about this is, now I forget what I wanted to say. Fuck. Okay, let's just continue.
We'll move. Sorry.
One thing I just want to quickly throw in, since I've mentioned it about oppression. There was a game I had recently where I went and kicked a gen that had like no progress just to get oppression off for the info. And right on the other end of the map, they messed up a skill check, and I went over there, and then it was against a streamer. When I went back and watched the VOD, there was 3 people on that gen. All 3 of them failed oppression, so that was instantly 30% taken. And that's 5% more than Pop, so oppression's stronger than Pop, in my opinion. That's just something I thought I'd mention.
I like
I
oppression.
wanted to say.
I like oppression. When I'm playing clown, I have oppression on there. I can't remember who said it now. What you guys just said. It all depends on the killer, and the clown hasn't got that mobility, so I will use oppression on the clown but I don't need oppression, say for instance on Freddy, because I can just whiz around the map, not a problem. But yeah, it's a good point. And it's something that I mentioned before, but I think we'll probably speak about it next week. But I think there needs to be more balance sometimes to some of the perks in regards to pushing some of the lesser known perks up, rather than just playing the meta all the time, because you do generally revert to the same perks that you know are quite strong. Right, okay, the reason why
I know what I wanted to say again.
Go on then.
You mentioned Pop, but Pop, you must realize that you play Pop against potatoes. on top of potatoes. You break potatoes' hearts with pop because in any other situation, pop doesn't do anything. Against good survivors, you can't catch them because they don't give you the decent chase. And if you go out of your way to down a survivor, you already lost because you are desperate to get the pop off. Which is like the problem with pop. It's like it depends on the skill of the survivors. If you face against potatoes, yeah, this perk is demoralizing. You're like, oh, we worked on the gen, now it's gone. Like, you know, it's like but it doesn't work against the people you need slowdown. And that's why I say pop is overrated, because it doesn't work against the best fucking players in the game, because they don't give you efficient chases. You need to end your chases fast to get the pop to get the pop value, to get the hook. Then you have to go to the gen, and if the people just go 2 people on the gen, the pop value is gone. It's too much effort for less effect, and it's only effective against people that already don't know what the fuck they're doing. You know, that's what I always say. It's like same with Ruin. In most cases, if they just sit on the gen and one guy is actually looping you and wasting your time, Ruin does absolutely nothing. Like, even if you scare them off a gen and then, like, after you chase, one is hopping on a gen again, this gen is not regressing anymore, so your Ruin absolutely did nothing. And it's like, only way slowdown perks actually have any value is in the sweet spot between top tier and above average, between that, like, good people. Not top tier, but good, decent teams. Like those are the sweet spots that you have to hit to actually get value of that slowdown perks. Otherwise, it's a waste of a perk slot. And that's what people don't understand. It's like you crush potatoes with that. You know, I had the game where I did the survivor challenge where I started with Dwight, and when I escaped with Dwight, I go to Meg and stuff like that. And we lost the game because people were caught by the doctor all the time, and doctor had surge and pop. Like, searching next to the gen and popping because your teammates play bad and you are like the only one that does gens, like maybe the second one, and they would get down in near the gen, 10% regression through search. So you are working on it, you have to go and then he comes back, chases you off the gen and kicks the gen, and you're like, what did I do in the last like 30 seconds? I lost that all just because my teammates play bad, and that's what the killer is begging on every game, that you get survivors, that you actually get value of pop. Because in the games where you actually think, oh fuck, I need pop, they never get value because survivors play too good to give you value of pop. And that's the thing with Pop Goes the Weasel or Huntress Lullaby, or something like Dying Light. The payoff is not good enough. Against Huntress Lullaby, if you slaughter the survivors and you get them on the hook all the time, and you get 5 stacks or Hunter's Alibi as fast as possible, of course you win the game. You won it because people throw themselves at you and give you free pressure. But
Right.
you don't win it against a good team.
What I'll do, because I've got, like I said, I've got a Freddy video that's going to go up. Whether or not you say, well, it doesn't count because it's Freddy, but I thought they were good survivors. You can judge that for yourself when the video goes up. I'll get the video up probably Tuesday now, and see. I'll put a counter on. I'll put a pop counter on and see how much value I get out of it. I don't know off the top of my head. I just know that it was a sweaty game. So
Yeah, but instead, like, if you get it down on a survivor's not good, because if a survivor's good, no killer can actually fight them in a strong loop.
I disagree with you there. The
That's
chase is in the favor of the killer. That's why you have a bloodlust.
No, it's
that's
not.
why you have, that's why the killer's quicker. So yes, you can be held up for a while, but eventually you should be able to catch a survivor.
Try it on Haddonfield against a good survivor team, and he knows how to fucking loop you, and you will never down him. If a survivor's truly good, he knows how to do it, and no killer can come after that.
But then,
that's what I say if you play against top teams, because you never play against top teams if you actually get it down against them. That's why I also say Tutel is not playing against top teams, because did they make mistakes in just looping, like mind gaming problems, stuff like that? Good teams.
Let me explain about the teams that I play. If I play a team that has good loopers, I will not spend my time trying to get that one good looper. I will leave that person and go find the weak links in the team, and that for me is the aim of the game. It's 1v4. If you turn it to 1v1, which is something that True Talent says all the time, you will lose the game. So yes, there's been times, again, you'll see it on my video today, that you will see that there was times where I let a survivor just run off. I had to because they were taking me to a loop, but it was impossible for me to win it. Or not impossible, because obviously eventually I'm going to catch him, but by then the damage is done. So I've got to leave them. I've got to go, right, that survivor's taking me there, forget about it. So, but anyway, we digress because we're gonna go.
No,
on for
the
too
problem
long.
is, in a good team, there's no true weak link. The weak link is maybe a bit weaker in a loop, but he's still too strong for you to handle it.
Yeah,
There's
so
a
I'll
good
move on.
looper.
So I'll move on. I'll move on to
So,
someone
so
else
how
in the
do you
team.
win a game if everyone is like decent or really good at loops and they do gens really fast and they waste your time in everything you do? You don't get pressure on in anything. You don't get a stack for barbecue and chili because, or like something by pop, because you can't end chases in time before the gens pop. How do you get pressure on that? It's impossible, and that's what high top tier level play means.
Right.
And that's
we're
where
gonna have
no
to-
perk helps you.
We are running out of time, so we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one, and we'll continue it next week. Guys, just before you go, I know I've got one more question, but it is going to be pretty straightforward. So last week we done our top 3 killers. So I'd like to know now 4, 5, and 6. Your next 3 after that. So for me, I'd pick Ness, Spirit, and Freddy. So just throw it out there, a couple of minutes.
So 4, 5, 6 in our top
4,
killers.
5, 6, yeah.
Okay, so to reiterate from last week, for me it went Nurse, Spirit, Hag, and then I would say Blight, Huntress. Freddy, Blight, Huntress.
Freddy, Blight, Huntress.
So my top 3 was Nurse, Spirit, Nurse, Spirit, and Hag, and the next 3 would actually be the same: Blight, Huntress, and Freddy.
So my top 5 would be, in order from top to bottom, is Nurse, Spirit, Blight, Hag, Freddy, and Huntress.
Interesting.
Actually, I just remembered something. I would actually say the twins are better than Huntress, actually, in my head.
Really?
Wrong.
I don't know. It's just been my opinion with twins. They've just been so oppressing.
What I wanted to say as well. It's like, explain why twins are better, as are a really good killer, and why you are a sucking killer. Especially that, because twins basically rewards you from being able to split pressure. You can end chases with Charlotte and then send out Victor to keep people off gens. That's easy. That's the only killer that can do that. And if you can master that, like you can see on Hexy or Dows's videos, this killer is oppressive as fuck. And I would say my top 3 were like Nurse, Spirit, Huntress. Then I would say Hag. Then would have Twins. Yeah. I would say Twins is top 5 killer.
Right. Okay.
My top 3 from last time was Nurse, Spirit, Blight, and then for 4, 5, and 6, I'd probably go Hag, Freddy, and then I'm going to throw Pyramid Head up there just because of how quickly he can get people killed. Like, he can have someone on death hook back to back at about 10 seconds apart from the moment you hook the first one. I think that's really strong, putting people out really quickly.
We're not talking about the potatoes. We're talking about actual survivors that know what they do.
Yeah. I mean,
And they can play Pyramid Head really easy.
I agree about Pyramid Head. I think I put him in my top 5 when I done a killer tier list. But I would go like Freddy, Spirit, Nurse, Hag. Hag's got to be up there for me. I think she's such a strong killer. And I would put Pyramid Head in there as well. So that would be mine. Has everybody managed to have their say? I take that as yes. Right. Okay, guys. So yeah, we are out of time now. So again, thank you very much for coming on, guys. Any other questions that you might have wanted to ask or anything you wanted to add? Ooh, tough crowd. Right.
No good. You're all good, mate.
Someone should have pulled up a cricket sound effect and played it on the mic.
I think that's what I'm going to put on. Yeah.
We talk about that top tier bullshit again, okay? Like, show me a game where you actually play against good survivors that outplay you and how you win that. With Pop goes the weasel.
He's still going on, guys. He's still going on. Right. I'm going to end
Do we want to make it
Just
fucking...
DC, you can't lose if you don't play.
Yeah, that's it. So, but right. Anyway, guys, really appreciate you coming on again. Are you guys okay with going live next week? For the
Sure.
last one?
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, if we go live and then I'll have some questions down, but we'll just get people to write stuff
Destroying people live. Oh yeah.
in. Yeah. So, right. Let me.
There's not too many sleepers in chat when Salty starts going on a rant. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can laugh.
Yeah.
Like
So,
I have to laugh so there's not many sleepers.
well, I'm just sat here now going, right, get that Freddy video up. That's my mission now. Forget about the podcast, get that Freddy video up. But no,
I
we'll.
guess when I see it, I can link like 10 things that didn't make this team good, and you like just boosted thinking that is a good team.
They're all they were really ranked 20s.
Like I play tournament games, I know what the fucking good team is. You can't catch them. Like if they're good, like if they're just fucking around and stuff and trying to bait you and waste time for you, they will like let you hit them because they get the speed boost. But if they are truly good, you don't hit them. Doesn't matter. They are strong pellets. They use that strong pellet and they don't drop it. And you have no point of being at strong pellets if they don't drop it. You have no basis there, and the rest is like just like doing gens. You have no chance. Like no perk helps you there. Maybe Devour Hope 5 stacks, killing them instantly. That's the only thing that you can beg on and get those teams.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So anyway, guys, we'll leave it at that. I'm sure we can continue this on next week. Again, thank you very much for coming on, guys. Next week we'll do it as a live session, so I'll message you all during the week and let you know how that works. But if you have any ideas, then please feel free to let me know.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone?
Potato!
How are you
It's
doing?
the other Cheryl main.
Yes, Cheryl Main. I do very well, thank you guys. Very well.
No,
Hopefully you-
Quentin
I
Superior.
hopefully-
will bite my tongue on my opinions on Cheryl.
You better.
Looks
Lisa
like
is
Atlas,
cute.
please.
Lisa is sexy, okay? I would buy Lisa just to watch her ass all the time in the game.
Yeah. All right.
Cheryl is not
Why
Not
do
Lisa.
that?
Oh, Cheryl is waifu. We need to discuss
Sure,
who
Why
is
would you
top
do
tier
that
waifus.
when you can play Quentin? Why would you do that
Guys,
when you can play Quentin?
I'm sorry. I have the most accurate tier list in the world.
Oh no, I know exactly which one
yeah.
I'm gonna send.
Spirit and Susie in
This
tier
is
1.
the best tier list, guys. I'm sorry. It's just-
Survivor tier
it's how
list.
it is.
Cheryl. Oh god. Oh, Kate? What the fuck?
Where did you put it?
It's in the podcast
Yes.
chat.
Yeah, I like it. That is top tier list. I'm putting it in my Discord.
Here's me just like, but Quentin.
No, Quinton is no.
But basic Cheryl looks so shit. Like even Yui looks better. I would put Yui over Cheryl.
Yeah, but you have to get the bugged outfit, Cheryl. It's top tier.
You wait until they patch that bug and then you'll be crying.
Ah!
Cheryl is not top tier anymore.
Yeah, she goes down in tears.
Pointing DVD.
Should stay top tier if we don't change the outfits.
The only reason I can see Cheryl is her Lisa skin. That's the only reason I can see her top tier. Because Lisa's looking sexy. It's like I would just buy Lisa to watch on her ass all the time when she doesn't generate or runs away. But like Cheryl, I can't deal with that shit because she's ugly.
No.
I mean, does
No,
the
no,
ass
no, no.
does the ass
Cheryl-
forgive the like
Cheryl's
creepy
cute.
smiling face?
Yeah, it's proper creepy. That nurse outfit creeps me out.
Yeah.
Jay, I'm gonna be honest.
So waifu tier
I'm gonna
list
be
is
honest. I wish
discussion
someone
here.
was recording just so we can have a like section at the end of the
I am.
podcast. It's
I
like,
am recording.
what was it? Oh, you are recording.
am recording,
This
yeah.
keeps going like a blooper reel,
Can
like
you
a
have a
blooper reel.
section at the end when you just say, and this is the conversation before.
I'll put it
The
on.
creepy
I'll put
smile
it
is
on.
like even like makes it better in my opinion. It's like it makes her even more waifu.
No.
So I'll put this on at the
Oh.
very end. It'll be like, there you go, guys. This is how serious we take this podcast. We're talking about wife material out of the characters. Alright, so thanks for that, guys. As always, a big special thanks to the guys coming on the show, Cptsalty, Tat, Nio, SkinnyQuinny, and Potatolegion. Again, your time is much appreciated. Next week, we are doing a special episode. We are going to be live for it on YouTube, so make sure you tune in. Pop into the chat, ask us any questions, and hopefully we can give you some good answers. Alright, and if you do enjoy the video, guys, don't forget the usual drill: like, comment below, and if you haven't done so already, press that subscribe button and click the notification bell to be alerted on all new videos. Alright, thanks guys.